Welcome into Locked On 76ers. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta. So much to get into today. We're going to talk about those NBA Finals, and we are going to talk about the 76ers and the potential to do what practically no one wants them to do. Could they, Keith, trade back? We'll discuss all that and more. This is Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This particular episode is brought to you by the amazing people at Monarch Money. That's right. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. Keith, I always get the sense in any draft, no matter what sport, it's a very, 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 add 10 more varies to that, very, very rare occasion that any fan base ever wants their team to trade back in an NBA draft. What vibe do you get just right now from Sixers fans that you interact with when it comes to the potential of trading back? What would their reaction be?
You know, it's crazy because you're right. Typically, they don't want it, but I think that certain people are split, and I think they're split. The fan base is split based off of, who they want the Sixers to draft. Like, if you want Ace Bailey, you're saying, no, you got to get him at 3. If you don't want him, you're figuring out, like, okay, maybe we could trade back a little bit, get some more assets, and then get the guy that we want. So, right now, I think that, to be honest with you, it's weird. And you're right. No one wants to trade back. But it's kind of one of those things where this year, I think the fan base is split based on who they think the 76ers should draft.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've said for the week plus now, you and I have been doing the show together, Ace Bailey is still the odds-on favorite to be a 76er by the time the draft is done, which, by the way, is getting underway in just a couple weeks now, later this month. So with that being said, what is the next step? What's the next thing down from that? Is it trading back? Is it acquiring more quote unquote assets? Because the Sixers certainly don't have a lot of first round picks coming up down the line here. Is the next step, if it's not Ace Bailey, is it Ace Bailey or bust, or is it Ace Bailey and VJ Edgecombe to throw in that name again?
It's weird. I think for the 76ers, they have to determine. That's why I always say you got to do that due diligence. You got to determine what you want to do and what you have. Like, for instance, who do you think is coming back, right? I know it's all about getting the best player available, but it's also about who fits into your system. Because if we look at that, that's what the OKC Thunder is doing. They're getting guys who are a perfect fit. And I think from there, you have to weigh your options. Now, I do think that the 76ers are not in the market for an aging superstar, not another one, right? I think that they want to go out there and get a young talent. But if you could basically, let's just say, if you don't want to keep the 3rd pick, but if you can trade back 2 more slots or 1 or 2 spots, depending on what someone's going to give you for that, and get the player you want, that could be something that they do. But I think a lot of it is all about the due diligence. Like, right now, like, are we 100% completely sold on the guy that we deem that's going to go 3rd, that we think is going to go 3rd? If not, maybe give it up and get something else. But that's what it is. I doubt if they are going to basically go after like Kevin Durant, knock on wood. I'm saying that now and then it happens. But I doubt if they go after a Kevin Durant type guy. But I think that we could see them, trade down and get someone else.
I was on the fence when it was a year ago, 2 years ago, about Kevin Durant possibly really shopping around to see where he'd want to land. And I just thought it was another attempt at a quick fix to something where there's multiple problems. So I wasn't on board fully then, and I'm not on board now. I want to see this thing built for the future with the 76ers because I think that's truly their best out. Other than the obligatory, have to say this, everyone's healthy and you run it back. Other than that, which I don't believe in, that's the best chance for the Sixers to actually win a championship is to build for the future, not right now. Now, when you talk about some other teams that they could maybe do some business with, entertaining the idea here. Now, I still think the Sixers are taking Ace Bailey, but entertaining the idea, we do our own due diligence here, Keith. You can look at some other teams where they could flip picks with in the top 10 and then get another pick later in the first round. The Brooklyn Nets would be another example of that for the Sixers. Are the Sixers kicking those tires as well? And what would you say if that was, in fact, something that they did do to acquire more picks?
It depends. Like, again, I think they're kicking all tires right about now. Okay. Because here's the thing. Let's face it. Like, when we look at the 76ers, we look at the disastrous season that they had. We talk about Daryl Morey's job, right? We talk about, the future of Nick Nurse, right? They got to get this thing right. So, yeah, you kick all the tires. But the one team that just thinking out loud, if there was a team that if I didn't want to keep the third pick and I wanted to make a trade with, depending on, what they're willing to offer, I think it would be the Utah Jazz. Because we all know that the Jazz, now, again, you got to deal with Danny Ainge, who's been, like, basically getting over on fleecing the Sixers for, like, over a decade. But here's the deal. If you look at it, we're talking about a team that tanked from the beginning of the season because they wanted to get in this sweepstakes, for what some people may argue or feel like it's a 3-player draft, right? That's a little bit deeper. But here you go. First of all, you can get the number 5 pick and you can get the number 21 pick just for them moving up 2 slots. And if you're not sold on Ace Bailey or whoever else there is, let's just say if Ace Bailey goes number 3 or number 4, and you're torn between Trey Johnson and VJ Edgecombe, right? Or maybe you might like Con Knipple, right? Like, it's one of those things where you could say to yourself, okay, I'll get that player at number 5 and then possibly, add a center at number 21. So those are the things that I think I would do. Now, again, if you're going to trade, I'm not trading way far back because then you're not going to have the option to go after those players we just talked about. But at the same time, if I'm the 76ers, I'm thinking long and hard. Now, the only thing is the reason why you got to do your due diligence is because if everything people say about Ace Bailey is correct, right? Or if you get your intel that these teams, want a player that you want, are you going to really trade out of that and deal with this person becoming a superstar and you'll be known for, yeah, you took said player over such and such, just like you took Markel Fultz over Jason Tatum. So you don't want to live with that. So they have to do their due diligence right now. Right now, it's all about trying to figure out what other teams are willing to give up and who other teams identify. Right.
All right, here's my absolutely. And here's my last, I'll say, concern when it comes to Daryl Morey controlling this draft. And if there's anything nice to say about Daryl Morey, it's that as a Sixers GM, whatever, or the director of player personnel or president of basketball operations, as that guy, he has drafted Tyrese Maxey. He has obviously drafted Jared McCain, and he has drafted Adem Bona, who I think is going to build himself this year into a more than serviceable backup center behind Joel Embiid, and you're certainly going to need more than one of them as the season goes on. He has drafted very well. I have a concern, and tell me if this is crazy or not, that he realizes that he could be in his final year of this job. He realizes that he's been at this for quite some time, both with the Rockets and here in Philadelphia. He hasn't been to the finals. Every one of his rosters that he's put together has had a lot of promise and then is disappointed. Is his back up against the wall? That's the question I ask going into this draft, where can he even afford, if he wants to keep his job, to say, oh, no. We're going to build for the future. Can he afford to trade back for a worse pick, even if he is sold on somebody that might be still a little bit of a project? Will he be willing to trade back to say, oh, no, let's use these picks for down the line and not take a player like Ace Bailey, take a player even like Trey Johnson, even that might even be a trade back situation. Should Sixers fans be concerned that Daryl Morey might make a more rash than not decision to save his job?
Yeah, they should be concerned. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Because, I think they should. But also, I think that, And that's where it goes down to the due diligence, and that's where it goes down to having these conversations. Because as good as Ace Bailey is, as good as he is, there are some people who have concerns where it comes down to like bust potential, right? And we already talked about that. But I think that if you're Daryl Morey, and the only reason why you make this thing, it becomes down to also like, what concerns do you have off the court? Like, and I'm not, will Ace Bailey, is he the type of guy that you have to worry about what happens when he's not playing basketball? Is he, what's his focus like? You know what I mean? Is he the type of guy that's going to be studying game film or working out with Tyrese Maxey, coming in early in the morning, things like that? So I think those are the things that factor in, right? Because if you feel like that, he comes to Philly and he may party, maybe out to all hours of the night, or he's not putting in the work ethic, then you may be doomed drafting that guy over someone. So like someone else. So that again, it's right now, this is a sticky situation for him based off of the misses that he made. Now he did make some great makes, but you also got to realize the one thing that Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain both have in common is they're both great individuals. They're both like
high character guys.
High character. Like shucks, Tyrese Maxey was like the valedictorian of his high school. Like a lot of people don't talk about that, right? They just don't, because he goes to Kentucky and you think like these guys are just NBA waiting, but this guy is extremely smart. Not only that, same thing with McCain. We know that, right? So the thing is, that's what they got right. So you're trying to build a culture. So if you feel that someone else is just as good as a basketball player and he works harder, that's the gamble that you may have to take. Now, if you get it right, everyone's going to say, great job, Daryl. But if you get it wrong and, this guy just comes out and is just jumping out of the gym and killing everyone on the court, then it's like you pass that up because he doesn't study film. Like, you know what I mean? So it's tough, man. No matter what he does, I think the fan base is going to be concerned because they had us sold on James Harden. That didn't work out. They had us sold on Paul George. Well, the first season of the Paul George thing didn't go as planned. So, yeah, no matter what Morey does, he's going to have to worry about the fans.
I still think that if they take VJ Edgecombe over Ace Bailey, that would be along the lines of, to use the word again, a rash decision made by Daryl Morey, because I feel that in the NBA in 3 years, Ace Bailey will be a better basketball player than VJ Edgecombe. VJ Edgecombe, first 2 years, I believe, will be the better player. But Ace Bailey will have time to grow in Philadelphia if things work out even a little bit, maybe not to the point of an MVP season from Joel Embiid, like not going that extreme, but just a healthy Joel Embiid, a healthy Paul George, where they could play 65 games. Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, those guys playing with a guy like Ace Bailey, that'll give him room to grow and room to work on his own game while those other guys might be recovering from, let's just say, load management. You don't want to wish injury upon anybody, so let's just say load management throughout the season. I think that's the thing that does concern me about Daryl Morey. Will he take the player that is better for right now and not the player that is better for the future? And when I think about the draft, this upcoming draft, that is one of the things that does concern me. Now, when we come back, Keith, we're going to talk about the impact overall in the draft and what it could tell us about the 76ers' future, what direction they could be heading, especially if they take a center, especially if they take another swing player, what it could mean for both Paul George and Joel Embiid. That's when we return. This is Locked On 76ers. And now it's time to tell you about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and go, where did the money go? Happens from time to time, depending on dining out, online shopping, and entertainment. It's easy to lose track of all that money, and that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. Oh, no. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch Money, I realized how much money I was spending on food delivery, mistake, and also managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. You just got married, just moved in together. Monarch Money can help you out. It takes the stress out of all that. Also, you can manage your personal accounts. You can track the personal accounts. You can set goals and stay on the same page without all that stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. If they take a player that is ready to play a swing spot, even if he's going to be a stretch 4, stretch 3, like Ace Bailey could be at the NBA level, Keith, that will tell us something about maybe the not too distant future for PG, for Paul George. If they take a center, if they do end up trading back, you referenced it earlier, if they trade with Utah or somebody and they trade back and they get a center later in this draft, that can certainly tell us something about Joel Embiid. How much of it do you think is factoring, Keith, into this draft day decision?
You know what? That's a great question because, there's two ways you can look at it. You can look at it and say, like, now, if they draft the center at number three, you'll say, wow, well, maybe they have some concerns with Joel, right? But the thing is, they do need a backup center, right? That they need a towering backup center. So if they drafted one at number 3, I'll be like, yo, well, maybe they like, yo, what are you telling us? Like, what
Joel Embiid's retirement tomorrow. Yeah.
Or like, yeah, something like that. Yeah. But if they traded back and they picked up, the guy from Duke, what's his name? Malawach.
Okay.
Yeah, Malawach. Like I would say, like, okay, if they trade back, they look at it as if that, he was the best player available at that particular spot. But they're looking at it also as that eventually they need a long-term option at center. They realize that he is not ready to play right now or to play at that elite level because he's still raw. But it's like, hey, it's the best player available, and he does also feel a need that they're going to need in a couple years, right? But they also could pencil him in as a backup. But if they did it number 3, yeah. But here's the thing. The thing is, no matter if they did do that, and even if they went out and got VJ or something like that, what it's telling me is that they were at least split on Ace. Because right now you look at it, and Ace is a guy who can come in and you feel like he can be the man in the future, but he also feels a need that they have. Like they need another quality forward. So if they go out and they don't draft him, that's telling me like maybe they weren't sold on him, right? They weren't. Now, the one guy who, to be honest, in regards to a plug and play, I just don't know what his upside is. But a guy who right now might be the best plug-and-play player for them is the guy Con Knipple from Duke. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I'm saying that is, he's 6'7". He's a wing, right? He could play the guard forward. More or less you could utilize him as a small forward. He can shoot the ball very well. Like he could be like sort of like their version of Sam Hauser was. With Boston, where you get him around these superstars and you can feel like he's a plug and play. So I can see that, but the only problem is his upside Sam Hauser? And if so, Sam Hauser, he's not taking over the franchise when Joel Embiid leaves or Paul George leaves. So to me, like he is a safe pick for like a team that wants to win the championship. The only problem is BJ Edgecombe, Bailey, Trey Johnson, the rest of them, they have higher upsides. So to me, it's like if they would trade back and get him, that's telling me that they feel like these other guys that they have right now are great and they're going all in trying to win now, as opposed to saying we need superstars to go with Maxey.
It is such an uncomfortable feeling to know what the Sixers have on the roster. At least right now, we know what the Sixers have on the roster. It's just about whether or not they're going to be available during the regular season. So, again, to talk about the direction this team could go, if they take someone like Knipple, that's saying, oh, we have a person that if we just get him, and they treat it almost like a midseason acquisition, like a trade deadline, we got this guy, you can plug and play him right now. He'll fill this need that we absolutely have. That to me concerns me because it's not about that. It's about taking young players that have a high ceiling. It's not just about the best player right now. It's about someone that can help you now, sure. But I think it would be more important to have a player that can help you down the line because I haven't made it a secret since the first show we did. I don't have confidence in the core as is. I don't have confidence in PG staying healthy or even being better or even being what he was in his final year with the Clippers. I don't have confidence that Joel Embiid has a lot left in the tank in total in his career, despite the money and years still attached to him. That's, again, going back to what we were talking about in the first segment as well, is the overall concern is Daryl Morey saying, oh, no. They're my only chance to win now, keep this job, and accomplish our goal. Why I was brought in here was to get that player that's the best fit and the best talent right now. Right now for the Sixers, and I think a lot of the 76ers fans, is not as appealing as what could be down the line with a more Tyrese Maxey-centered team, even a more Jared McCain in a bigger role with this team. And I don't want to put him in the Hall of Fame after 23 games, but I think he's proven already he can be a pretty damn good serviceable NBA player at the absolute least. But you have a guy in Maxey that I think you could build around for down the line. Don't make the mistake of going with the plug and play. If I could plead anything with the Sixers, Keith, it's don't make the mistake of the plug and play. Don't make the mistake even of a VJ Edgecombe. Don't make the mistake, I think, even in this draft of trading back just so you could get a swing player or a guard early in the draft, still a top 10, and then potentially getting that center later in the draft. That, to me, I think would still be a 76ers mistake.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% because when you look at it, we're talking about it's not on paper. Like this isn't like a Shakespearean like play. Like, you know what I mean? This is real life stuff. So yeah, of course.
I don't know. It is tragedy so far, Keith.
Well, yeah, it's been tragedy. It's been tragedy. Yeah, it's been tragedy. But the problem is, it's like, yeah, everything sounds good about we got Joel Embiid, we have Paul George, we have Tyrese Maxey. But is Con Knipple going to help you? If Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and Paul George aren't 100%, is Con Knipple going to help you beat the Indiana Pacers? Is he going to help you beat the Detroit Pistons? You know what I mean? So That's the thing. And like you said, like, you know what? You want to keep this thing going because on paper, the Sixers are a contender on paper, but no one knows what Joel Embiid can do yet, right? Mm-hmm. So my thing is, if you get Maxey, who's still young, and you get another guy who's young and who can be a star, but he's going to be the man, I'm with you. It's one of those things. Well, we know the 76ers in 3 years are going to be legit. In 3 years, Joel Embiid might be out of the league. Paul George is going to be out of the league. So, it's not helping you get in a role player if you're trying to win a championship or if you're trying to become a contender for years to come. Like, you could go all in with these guys, but what's going to happen next season or what's going to happen at the trade deadline? Because let's face it, Joel Embiid has yet to have an injury-free season.
Mm-hmm. We go back to it all the time. It's always something. And maybe even that the end of the career is sooner rather than later right now with Joel Embiid. We don't know. We haven't been given a lot of updates. I know you haven't been given a lot of updates. None of us are getting updates on exactly where he is supposed to be now, unfortunately. But if the Sixers do take a center, then it would put us all on high alert, no doubt, when it comes to the near future of Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
Keith,
number 3.
You alluded to it with the finals. You alluded to it with Indiana Pacers. A depressing feeling came over me last night while I was watching Game 2. We'll get to that when we come back. This is Locked On 76ers podcast. And now I got to tell you about DoorDash. NBA fans, NBA Finals well underway. DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA Finals. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more and use promo code WINGSTOP50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Offer valid noon to midnight the day after the game. Terms apply. Once again, sign up for a Dash Pass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all NBA Finals long. When any player drops 50 or more points in a game, Dash Pass members can get a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the next day with an order of $20 or more. Promo code Wingstop50. That's Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. I have this feeling, Keith, every time I watch the finals and a Philly team is not in it, I always think to myself, all right, how far away is this team from that? How far away is the Sixers? Are the Sixers from the Pacers or OKC? How far away are they from, being 3 games away from winning an NBA title, whatever? And last night, even with Tyrese Halliburton struggling really throughout the game and OKC really being in control, unlike game 1 where they lost control late, OKC controlled throughout the game. I just had this feeling again, and this isn't breaking news, but it's just that depressing feeling of the Sixers not even in this ballpark right now. They're not even in this ballpark right now. That was just the overwhelming feeling I had while watching game 2. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it shucks, man. I want to say when I saw the first round of the playoffs, I was saying the 76ers aren't in this ballpark. And, I mean, you're right. I mean, you look at, let's just talk about Tyrese Halliburton. And I know, he had a bad game yesterday and they did a great job of defending him, right? But against the 76ers, we're talking about a guy who was averaging 20 and 10. Like in 4 games this season, he averaged 20 and 10. Like, he shot 35.6%, actually 36.8% on 3, which isn't very good, but he did that against the Sixers. But we're talking about he averaged 20 and it was actually 19.3 and 8. So it wasn't quite 20 and 10, but it was close to 20 and 10. And when you factor that in, you're like, okay, you mean to tell me he was struggling yesterday to get shot? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Things like that. And you look at it and it's just, they're a ways away. And what it is, and here's the thing, we're focusing a lot on the stars. But you see how deep this team is? The Sixers aren't that deep. Now, again, I think some guys that we looked at, because they performed well later in the season when they were tanking and they were playing other tanking teams, like you have to throw that out the window. You really do. Because, right now we're looking at and seeing what these guys are doing against elite competition and they don't compare. We talked about this before. There are several guys that come off the Indiana Pacers bench and several guys that come off the OKC Thunder bench who would be celebrated starters for the Sixers. And that tells you how they are a ways away in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. Well, it also goes back to the end of last year, as you were saying. I don't look at Quentin Grimes to come off the bench for the Sixers, assuming they retain him. I'm not looking for him to come off the bench and drop 28 points. Like that's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But I know we can run a second unit. Yeah. I can say that. I mean, I told you my 2 takeaways is I think Adembona will grow into this year of being the legit backup center. I know we were a little off on that, you and I, but I also look at Quentin Grimes and I say, okay, I know I got a guy that could run a second unit on a playoff team. That's what I think I got in Quentin Grimes. The overlying questions, though, remain the same, almost redundant, cliche questions, which is Embiid and George stay healthy, blah, blah, blah. But I know from watching last year that I have at least a guy that could help me with a very deep bench going into the future, assuming he's needed off the bench and not needed in the starting 5.
Yeah, and he's needed off the bench, not needed in the starting 5. I think the major question marks are like, here's the thing. We know what Quentin Grimes, we have an idea what Quentin Grimes can do. But let's just say how is his role going to change while playing alongside Joel Embiid, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a lot of other guys who we had here who were pretty good when Joel was off the floor, and then all of a sudden they just stood in the corner and they became, ineffective. I mean, when George Niang said, dude, when Embiid comes back and Maxey comes back, you're not going to do all this stuff. People chuckled because they knew he was telling the truth. Yeah. Another guy is, Justin Edwards. what is his role going to be like when those guys come back? So there are a lot of question marks on certain guys who we felt like, and we all know they can play, but how do they fit in with a healthy roster when everybody's there? So that's the question mark with these bench guys. And you know what? Justin Edwards has a huge upside. He was a steal, right? Because he was undrafted. But how is he going to be utilized when these guys come back?
So true. Those are the questions that will continue to haunt us up until opening tip-off of the new NBA season. But let's get to the draft first so we know exactly what the full deck will be on paper, that is. Keith Pompey, make sure you guys are reading his stuff on Inquirer.com. We're here, Marc Farzetta and Keith Pompey, 5 days a week with your 76ers, Locked On 76ers daily podcast. So make sure you guys like and subscribe to all thing Locked On 76ers. And hey, Phillies fans, they're doing pretty terrible right now. Sorry. But you can catch me after every game on your Locked On Locked On Phillies postcasts on your Locked On Phillies YouTube channel. Keith, always a pleasure. Look forward to tomorrow, brother.
Yeah, can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. Make sure you guys like and subscribe.
Absolutely. And also, thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NBA Big Board Show, where NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft later this month. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Catch you guys tomorrow. See ya.